You know that feeling. Someone says something, and before you've even decided how to respond, your chest tightens, your jaw clenches, your face gets hot. You're already angry before you've chosen to be angry. And the strangest part? You're the last to know. Your body launches into a response while your mind is still catching up. You're not choosing to react. You're watching yourself react. We've all been there. You tell yourself you'll stay calm this time. You've prepared. And then your coworker makes that comment. Your mother asks that question. Your partner uses that tone. And suddenly you're saying things you'll spend the next 3 hours wishing you hadn't. We'll practice staying calm all week, then someone cuts us off in traffic and suddenly we're auditioning for a true crime documentary. But this isn't a character flaw. It's a pattern. And patterns can be interrupted. Chapter 1. The speed problem. When someone triggers you, your body reacts fast, faster than you can think, faster than you can reason, faster than you can choose. By the time you're aware you're upset, you're already in it. Your heart is racing, your muscles are tense, your face feels hot, and your thinking brain, it shows up late, like a friend who texts almost there when they haven't left yet. This is why telling yourself to stay calm in the moment rarely works. By the time you're giving yourself the advice, the reaction has already started. Think of it like a smoke detector that can't tell the difference between your house burning down and slightly burnt toast. It just screams either way. So when someone sends a passive-aggressive email, your body responds as if you've been challenged to a fight. This isn't a flaw. It's just how we're wired. But knowing this gives you an advantage. Chapter 2. Recognizing your state. At any given moment, you're in one of 3 modes. The first is activated. Heart racing, muscles tense. Ready to argue, defend, or leave. This is the state of reaction. The second is settled. Breathing steady. Body relaxed. You can think clearly, listen fully, and respond instead of react. This is the state of choice. The third is shut down. Numb. Foggy. Exhausted. That feeling after a long conflict where you just check out. That's not calm. That's collapse. Most people think they only have 2 speeds, stressed or relaxed. But really, you have 3, and most of us are stuck on shuffle. The goal isn't to always be settled. That's not realistic. The goal is to recognize which mode you're in right now, because you can't change what you can't see. Right now, as you're listening, which state are you in? Start noticing. That's the first move. Chapter 3. The 90-second window. When a strong emotion hits, the intense physical part of it lasts about 90 seconds. 90 seconds. That's it. Your heart pounds, your chest tightens, your hands shake, and then, if you don't add fuel, the intensity fades. 90 seconds is shorter than most microwave meals. You can survive 90 seconds even if your face is doing things you can't control. So why does anger last for hours? Why do some people stay triggered for days? Because we refresh the page. Every time you replay the conversation in your head, you restart the clock. Every time you imagine what you should have said, you extend the feeling. Every time you tell someone else about it, you reactivate the whole thing. The emotion wants to end. You're the one keeping it alive. This isn't about ignoring what you feel. It's about noticing when you're feeding it. After those 90 seconds, continuing to feel it becomes a choice. Chapter 4. The exhale. Everyone says to breathe when you're upset. And if you're like most people, that advice has felt useless. Telling someone who's already triggered to just breathe is like telling someone who's drowning to just swim. Technically true, practically worthless in that moment. But there's a difference between breathing and breathing with intention. The key is the exhale. When your exhale is longer than your inhale, your body starts to settle. Not because you're forcing calm, but because slow exhales send a signal that the threat is over. One method is breathing in a box pattern. 4 counts in, 4 counts hold, 4 counts out, 4 counts hold, like tracing a square with your breath. But the real value isn't in the method. It's in using it before you're fully activated. Most people wait until they're already flooded. By then, you can't think straight. Practice when you're calm. Do it until it becomes automatic. You're not learning a technique. You're building a reflex. Chapter 5. Emergency moves. But what if you're already there? Heart pounding, hands shaking, head foggy. What do you do when you're already activated and breathing feels impossible? You go physical. Your body got you into this state. Your body can help get you out. One of the fastest resets is cold. Splash cold water on your face. Hold ice cubes in your hands. Press something cold against your wrists or the back of your neck. Cold interrupts the pattern. It pulls you out of your head and into your body. Your stress response was built for running from danger. Now it kicks in when someone leaves you on red. We weren't designed for this. Another move is using your senses. Name 5 things you can see, 4 you can hear, 3 you can touch, 2 you can smell, 1 you can taste. This isn't distraction. It's redirection. You're pulling yourself out of the imagined threat and anchoring back to what's actually happening right now. These are emergency moves. Not prevention, intervention. Want to level up your people skills? Join our community on YouTube or on my Patreon for exclusive scripts, early access, and connection with people who get the social struggle. Links below. Let's master human interaction together. Chapter 6. The story you're running. You're not triggered by what people say. You're triggered by what you believe their words mean about you. Someone criticizes your work. The words are just sounds. But if those sounds mean you're not good enough, if they mean rejection is coming, if they confirm something you feared for years, now you're triggered. The event and your interpretation of the event are not the same thing, but we treat them like they are. We've all won an argument in the shower 3 hours after it ended. The perfect response, the devastating comeback, and we replay it like it matters. But what if there's another story? What if the person who snapped at you is exhausted from something you know nothing about? What if their criticism says more about their own fears than your actual work? What if they're not attacking you, but struggling themselves? This isn't about excusing bad behavior. It's about freeing yourself from carrying weight that isn't yours. The story you run determines how long you stay triggered, and you're the one writing it. Chapter 7. What you actually control. There's an old idea that still works. Some things are within your control, and some things are not within your control. Your thoughts, your actions, your responses, your interpretations, outside your control. Their thoughts, their actions, their responses, their interpretations. The moment you start trying to control what you can't control, you've lost your peace. You can't make someone understand you. You can't force someone to be fair. You can't control whether they apologize, see your point, or change their behavior. You can only control what you do next. The most unrealistic thing about action movies isn't the explosions. It's when someone insults the hero and they just walk away. No internal monologue, no replaying it later. Just walking, like a psychopath. But there's wisdom there because the hero figured out something we forget. You can be right, or you can be free. Rarely both. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is release your grip on something that was never in your hands. That's not giving up. That's growing up. Chapter 8. When they're doing it on purpose. Sometimes it's not accidental. Sometimes they're doing it on purpose. There are people who learn exactly which words land hardest, who know which buttons to push because they've been watching you for years. But here's something worth understanding. They're not pushing your buttons. They're pushing buttons that were installed long before they showed up. Every trigger you have is a wound that hasn't fully healed. They didn't create it. They just found it. This isn't about blaming yourself. It's about reclaiming power, because once you see the pattern, it loses its grip. When someone says no offense and you immediately prepare to be offended, that's the pattern. When someone asks, "How are you?" in a tone that clearly isn't interested, that's the pattern. When you can predict exactly what they're going to say next because they've said it 100 times before, that's the pattern. Seeing it is protection. When you can name what's happening, you create distance from it. You become the observer instead of the participant. They can only trigger what's already loaded, and you can choose to unload. Chapter 9. The Gray Rock. There's an approach that works well with people who feed on your reactions. It's called the Gray Rock. The idea is simple. You become as uninteresting, as unreactive, and as boring as a gray rock. No emotional reactions, no long explanations, no defending yourself, just short, neutral responses that give them nothing to work with. This works because people who try to trigger you are often looking for engagement. Negative attention is still attention. Your anger is still energy they can use. When you become boring, you become useless to them. The best revenge against someone trying to trigger you is a genuine yawn. The same person who says, "I hate drama," is usually updating you on everyone else's drama. These people need reaction. Without it, they move on. This doesn't mean you become cold with everyone. With safe people, you're still fully yourself. Gray rock is a tool for specific situations with specific people, a strategy, not a personality. Sometimes the most powerful statement is no statement at all. Chapter 10. Naming what you feel. There's a moment in every trigger when the emotion is overwhelming but undefined. You just feel bad, upset, off, but you can't name exactly what it is, and that vagueness gives it power. When you name an emotion specifically, something shifts. The feeling doesn't disappear, but it becomes more manageable, more contained, less overwhelming. Just naming it. Your mind calms down simply because you've identified what you're experiencing. But this requires precision. Saying I'm upset isn't specific enough. Are you disappointed, humiliated, overwhelmed, jealous, feeling dismissed, unappreciated, afraid? Each of those is different. Each points to something specific. And each, once named, loses some of its grip. This is about seeing clearly, not judging, not analyzing to death, just seeing. There's a difference between I'm fine and actually being fine. You know the difference. Name what's really there. Name the feeling, and it starts to lose its teeth. Everything we've covered only works if you can access it in the moment. And that's the hard part, isn't it? When you're triggered, your thinking brain checks out. You can't remember techniques when you're flooded. That's why you need a simple system. Something short enough to remember when your mind is barely working. I call it CALM. C is for catch. Notice the trigger happening. Feel your body's signals, the tight chest, the hot face, the racing heart. Catch it before it catches you. A is for anchor. Ground yourself physically. One deep breath with a long exhale. Feel your feet on the floor. Touch something cold if you need to. Get back into your body. L is for label. Name what you're feeling specifically. Not upset, not bad, the actual emotion. M is for master. Choose your response. What do you actually control here? What would the settled version of you do next? Respond instead of react. When you finally decide to take the high road, but you make sure everyone knows you're taking the high road, that's not mastery. That's performance. Real mastery is quiet. Calm isn't the absence of triggers. It's the presence of choice. And that choice, it's always yours. Learned something new? Hit that like button, share it with others, tap subscribe, and stick around for more. Got thoughts? I'd love to hear them in the comments.